Okay, welcome everybody to the LF Decentralized Trust Technical Advisory Council meeting for October 2nd. It is October already. There's two things that we have to abide by on these calls. The first is our antitrust policy, so we just need to be aware of and not participate in any activities that are prohibited under any of the antitrust and competition laws across the world. The second thing that we have to abide by is our code of conduct, which is linked in the agenda. Everybody is welcome on these calls. We just need to be respectful of others on the call, their opinions and ideas, and we should all get along fine. If you need to see the full text for the code of conduct, again, it's linked in the agenda. For announcements today, we have the standard Dev Weekly developer newsletter that goes out each Friday. If you do have something that you would like to include in that newsletter, please do leave a comment for consideration on the wiki page that is linked in the agenda. For quarterly reports, sorry, let me just ask, are there any other announcements that anybody would like to make today? No? Okay. So then for quarterly reports, we do have a number of Q3 reports that have come in for review. As far as I know, these didn't have enough approvals as of when I put the agenda together yesterday. But if people can please review those, that would be great. The base year report did come in. So that one has moved into the list as well. If you haven't seen that one, please do go ahead and have a look. Any questions on those quarterly reports that we need to address here in the TAC? No. Okay. So we do have some overdue reports, specifically Bevel and Trust over IP. The Q3 report for Trust over IP, I know we got the Q2 and the annual report just recently, so that one is also due from Trust over IP. And yeah, and then for upcoming reports, we do have the Q4 reports starting. So due today are the Cacti and Fabric Q4 reports, and then due next week are the iDentist and Web3J Q4 reports. Any questions, comments on the reports?
Rama is going to is ready to do. Will be ready next week. He's just not here this week for the Trust over IP one. I have drafted something, and he and I are reviewing it.
Okay, great. So we'll make sure that one is on the agenda then for next week.
Yes, and I should be back from camping. So
okay. Might be worthwhile just commenting on the pull request that we'll be reviewing that in the full TAC next week. If anybody from Trust over IP might want to join us, that would be great.
Okay, will do.
All right, thanks, Diane. And Arun, on the overdue reports for Bevel and well, I guess Trust over IP is a new overdue report. But for Bevel, have we heard anything from them?
No, Tracy. I remember also putting in issue in GitHub. I will re-follow up with someone one-on-one.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, obviously, August 7th, that's a couple months away now. So just would be really good to be able to know if they're able to do that, or if we should be considering whether or not we should move this project back to labs, or what the case may be. So that's probably something for us to follow up on. Okay. Anything else on reports before we move forward? All right. If not, then Hendrik, I know you suggested a couple of topics specifically around discussion for good first issues and a discussion for the Hacktoberfest, that the guidelines that are being put together for Hyro for this, and I thought it would be good to share with the TAC, get their thoughts and feedback, and maybe see if other projects may be doing similar sorts of things or are interested in doing similar sorts of things. So maybe I'll hand it off to you to take us through that section.
Thank you. Sure. So let me share my browser here. Yeah, let me, close it. So if, as some of you might know, since some years, every October, we have the Hacktoberfest, which is like 1 month long digital event that is organized mostly by DigitalOcean, but other players like especially GitHub takes part of it, and even the Linux Foundation with the CNCF is part of it and sponsoring it and so on. And the goal of the Hacktoberfest is to get people to open source doing, on the one hand, the first contribution to open source ever, or doing contributions to projects they've never contributed before to. And to make that as easy and good as possible, the goal is for projects to have good first issues that allow people to contribute to those projects. And when doing it in the October, by the Hacktoberfest, they can even receive some, goodies and things like that. Because I can just log in here with my GitHub handle. Because if you solve good first issues, it will be tracked by the Hacktoberfest website. And if you solve in the October 6 of those good first issues on different projects, you can get things like a good first issue t-shirt that will ship to you to home and stuff like that. So it's really about, hey, learn about new projects, how to contribute to those new projects, or learn in general how to contribute to open source. And at Hyro and before that at Hedera, we took now part of the Hacktoberfest already tries. And what we've seen in the last 2 years is that if you have really good first issues that are meaningful and solvable by people, then you really get new contributors, new individual contributors to the projects. And at Hyro, we had several issues, good first issues that have been successfully worked on last year and the year before. And we even have some people that came to Hyro by good first issues over the Hacktoberfest and are still working on Hyro. That is not, I'm not talking about 40 people or whatever, right? Especially about those people that stay and still work on Hyro, that's a handful. But this is a handful of people now contributing to Hyro in their free time because they found that project over Hacktoberfest and like to stay because they got a nice introduction over good first issues and so on. And I think that is a very good way to grow the diversity of those projects. And what we now, and on the other hand, another thing we learned is if you do not have good first issues, like issues that are labeled by good first issue, but outside of the application context for people are not really good to understand, that will really be a problem, because then people who try to work on it got frustrated and never come back to the project and so on and so on. And with that, we now try a new workflow this year to participate to Hacktoberfest, and we already did some announcements around it. So since today we have a blog post open to it on our Hyro web page about that. And the most important, I think it's what I have opened here in the second tab too. Yeah. The most important one is that we have created some guidelines about good first issues and how to create good first issues for all our maintainers and committers, starting with how a good first issue should be structured, what should be part of it, what not, and so on. And then we even provide a template for our good first issues with additional interesting information, like a link to our contributing MD file that we just updated this week to add more information about things we learned are hard, which is like DCO and signing and things like that. Linking to pages like the first contributions project that gives some general information, linking to Oktoberfest, to our Discord, and so on and so on. And our goal is to have good first issues that are based on this template where the like description, solution, and implementation section is filled. And especially this, I mean, description, I think that is quite clear. And what we've seen is that especially this solution and implementation section is very helpful. It's not about here you see the code, you need to copy and paste to put into a PR and then you're done. It's more about, yeah, look. So we want to have a new attribute added to a transaction type. And here are 3 other pull requests that have added an attribute to another transaction type, and you can have a look at this as a possible solution or implementation, how it could look like for you to solve it, as an example. And what we are doing now is that we added some labels to all our projects. There's even a table here in the bottom about those labels. And what we added next to good first issue is this good first issue candidate issue. And we asked all our maintainers and committers, instead of creating directly good first issues, label all of them with good first issue candidate. And starting, so we did it the first time this week. We now have a weekly meeting every Monday, which is the good first issue refinement meeting, where we invite maintainers, contributors, people from the community. And the goal is to have in that 1 hour meeting a look at the candidates and check if people out of the meeting, which are often maybe people from Hiro, but from other parts of Hiro, right? So maybe we have a good first issue candidate from our Go SDK, and we have people from the consensus node in that meeting. So we can easily check, do you think that is solvable with not being part of the Go SDK team? And if those people decide, oh yeah, that is good, we relabel it to good first issue. And by doing so, we hope that we really have good first issues that allows people, even external people, to work on it in, some hours and not days, and do not ask all the questions again and again, because in an ideal world, everything that is needed is then really part of the issues. And we have a lot of those candidates right now. So if you have a look, I think it's like 79 good first issue candidates have been targeted so far. Actually, I cannot say how good the quality of all of them is. That is something we will check. I can just open one that Jessica and I created some time ago to have a look at an example. So this is a candidate that we created that has a description and that even has a solution in it. Since this is a super basic website thing, it don't have a big description like that one too. We want to have such a bar on our website, so the description and solution for this is not that big, but it contains all those informations. And now we'll go into review to hopefully become next week a good first issue. And another thing we are currently working on to present that in a very good way is that we have a website here, which is a Good First Issue Hiro website, where you see all our Good First Issues, and you can, as a newcomer, say like, oh, I'm a Java developer, so I want to have a look at a Good First Issue where I need to have JavaScript to solve it, or I'm a Go developer. We don't have issues for Go. I'm a Python developer. So here you have some issues in a Python-based project. One of the things we definitely want to add, we discussed that on Monday, is adding a non-code label so that we even have some Good First Issues that can be solved by non-code. And next to those issues, we created those are all our contributors contributed to Hiro board, where you can, like click on the people and then come to their profile. Currently we're working on, those are all contributors contributed to Good First Issues view, and a random view that we can add like at the bottom of our web page to highlight random contributors. I can show you an example. I did it in a different project, in the Adoptium open source project, where we added, why is it not loading? Come on. Where we added at the bottom of each page this thanks to our X contributors, and then have random contributors saying, oh, thank you for making X contribution to this and that sub-project. So that is where we at Hiro are currently working on. And for sure, what we would like to do is, share that not only within Hiro, but maybe within LFDT or LF or whatever, to make what we create here, like ideas for other projects, guidelines for other projects, and maybe a help for other projects that makes it easier for those projects to attend the Hacktoberfest in a good way. So maybe that as an overview of what we did the last weeks as preparation for the Hacktoberfest, and as a preparation for having, even after the Hacktoberfest, good first issues that let us help to get new contributors and create diversity. Any questions on that? Comments? Suggestions, maybe? Peter.
Hey, Andrew. Thank you for the presentation. No questions from me, just a specific comment is that the favorite one of mine is the idea that you link to a similar pull request. That's definitely, to me, the most useful one when I'm looking to contribute. So thank you for putting it all together, and a big plus one.
Thank you. Thank you. Tracy.
Hey, Peter, can you share what you guys did in Cacti with the different levels for Good First Issues? The Good First Issue 100, Good First Issue 200, 400, whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So we mimicked what conferences sometimes do to mark their tracks or talks as beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert. So we further broke down the Good First Issues into these 4 categories, and we had specific labels for it. If you go to the Cacti repo, you can see that you can filter based on your experience level as well. It's notoriously difficult to classify these, but at the very least, you always have a good intuition whether something would be an expert, which is the most difficult, or a beginner, which is the easiest. And one more thing that we did as a pattern is we would specifically pick linter warning fixes that looked pretty trivial, and made a bunch of those in the beginner categories so that people would be able to build up initial confidence with their contributions, because the code change itself that was necessary was really, really trivial and just a few lines of code that wasn't even changing the logic. So if you're coming in as an absolute beginner, you had your hands full just with the process of reading the contributors document, figuring out what a pull request is, how to use Git. And it was very helpful for us to gain every single Hacktoberfest a bunch of new contributors that way. And I see that it's being shared. So those exactly are the ones.
Yeah, that's a nice idea too. I like it. I think it would be good if you add descriptions to it. I'm
I
just seeing
agree.
exactly those four. But yeah, I like to have this subcategories, and I assume all of them are labeled as good first issues then, right? So it's like all of the introductory are labeled with good first issue 2, because otherwise it could be a problem to find them. But yeah, they have the, or not all. I think that is something you should do, because a lot of people search for good first issues, and they then would never find this one as an example.
Yeah, I see a couple of them missing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I
I
guess I
like
should. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
That's what happens when I put you on the spot, Peter. We find issues.
I know now you ruined it, Tracy.
That's
But
okay.
it's yeah, the descriptions should definitely be there. I agree. And maybe there could be a GitHub bot that enforces this, because this definitely is one of those things that is primed to be forgotten by the maintainers. But I don't want to go into a different off-topic direction with that.
Great. Yeah, other people who either have good first issues in their projects or have participated in Hacktoberfest, either as a newbie or as a project, want to provide some thoughts on how they're doing things for others to learn from? Matthew?
Hey, yeah, thanks, Tracy, and thanks. That was really, really interesting overview of how you're doing it for Hacktoberfest. Is it something that other open source projects that you've seen in other open source projects, or is it particularly useful? Do you think when there's a particular kind of short term hackathon kind of environment where it's particularly useful to help people quickly get to understanding how complex a good first issue might be?
You mean like an in-person hackathon?
Oh, yeah, I guess generally I've not seen that kind of categorization of levels of complexity of good first issue before. Was it the first time that you've kind of looked at breaking down issues into those different categories?
Are you asking
That might be
me?
it. Yeah, I think that's a question for you, Peter.
Sorry, yeah,
So
for Peter.
no worries. We've been doing this for years. I think the first year we did it in Cacti was 2021, maybe. So we've been doing that this whole time, and it's so Hacktoberfest is a month long, and people did show up and did solve some of the expert ones. Usually, it's the beginner ones that get solved. So you're right in thinking that the most complex ones might not fit in it, but there's always exceptions too. There's a very wide range of people coming and contributing in terms of skill and experience, and every now and then I would get very, very positively surprised because someone would come in that don't even ask any questions, don't need any explanation. They would just crush it, and it would be an actually difficult issue to solve. So yeah, I think it's worth it, even for the sort of short-term nature of it. And the other good thing about it is that once you build up a healthy pool of these issues, because some of them are low priority, that they will stick around in your backlog forever. So once you build up a pool of these issues, you don't have to build it from scratch every year. They are just there forever, or not forever, but for a long time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I guess my experience from the projects I work on is when we've had new people wanting to contribute, we've gone through the good first issues, and actually we've maybe been a bit hard pressed to find ones that are more than a typo, but are simple enough that within a day or two they can have raised their first PR. I wonder if generally some projects that maintainers get to the easy good first issues more often than other projects. But yeah, I can see breaking it down into those levels of complexity might mean you move some into good first issue that you didn't before, but you can tag them something like advanced so that people have more to kind of go through.
Yeah, I guess with Cacti we were lucky because it was or it is a very complicated project with multiple languages involved. I think 70 plus packages in a mono repo. So there's always things that needed to be upgraded, refactored, a very long list of things because we were continuously trying to modernize, and it's such a complex project. So I remember there are things that we started in 2023, and then we were almost done with them by 2025. But then by that time, we were actually coming up with a new structure for something, and then migrating away even before we finished the previous iteration. So I don't know. It's project dependent, but for Cacti, it was a very good match.
Yeah, I can certainly see it's probably varies between projects, and especially when they're broken down to different repos. But it's something I would definitely consider going through some of Firefly or Bessie ones at some point to move something to good first issue, but maybe highlight there might be slightly trickier good first issues.
What I would recommend also, maybe this could be part of the guide, is that if your project is inherently high complexity good first issues, then there could be a series of forever open practice issues that people can just kind of walk through like a tutorial. Like they set up the build first, have the test run first, contribute a new test case first, something that improves the coverage. Unless you already have 100% coverage, then that's tough. But I suspect the coverage is never 100%. So that sort of things. And some of these can even be throwaway things. For example, if everyone is adding the same practice test case, then you don't even have to necessarily merge that. Although because it's open source and people want to contribute, they probably want it there on their GitHub profile that they did contribute. So maybe that's not the best approach. But regardless, I could imagine some sort of step up training as they actually get to understand everything that they need for the contributions. I've never tried this, so it's just me ideating this as something to maybe try. But it also sounds like quite high effort from the maintainers compared to just creating a quick good first issue that says, hey, fix this linter error.
And Peter, I remember when you first introduced this concept to us of the, advanced, intermediate, expert sort of thing. You had mentioned something about some of the issues needing you to be good at the programming language, but not necessarily knowing anything about Cacti itself, which I think is another way to look at the whole expert sort of guide, good first issue, right? Is if somebody is good at a particular programming language, and that's where the main portion of creating whatever that issue is, then that could be labeled as expert versus, say intermediate or whatever. But I I just remember that was like a division of how you looked at these issues as well, right? Was around, what do you know about the actual project versus what do you know about coding?
Yes, two very different dimensions because sometimes we would have a deeply TypeScript generics related task that would be about upgrading to a new TypeScript feature that had just been released with a new version of the compiler. And you just won't know about that unless you're following it closely and you already know all the other features that this is built upon. And so that would be technically a simple refactor, but only if you were very good with TypeScript. And then vice versa, other times you would have a simple looking change, but you couldn't actually make that change correctly unless you understood how cacti worked at large. So that's definitely another dimension. I don't know if there could be additional labels like the first issue TypeScript expert or TypeScript 400 or whatever programming language. It might be leading to label exhaustion or label creep. I don't even know if that's a thing. Maybe I just made it up. But definitely in some way it should be or could be expressed at least in the issue description that says, hey, this is about the language expertness, and the other one is about the architectural complexity.
Yeah, I just Hendrik, when you were showing kind of the sort nature that you had for the issues where you could look for, things that were good for Python developers versus Go developers or whatever, right? That also came to mind. What other kind of mechanisms could you use to limit what it is that the person is looking at so that they really find issues that are well suited for them?
Yeah. I like the idea with the complexity actually, like this three layers. I said another thing is that we want to add non-code issues. Why maybe documentation, translation. Hey, let's create a Zoom. Let's create a short video about how to use it, whatever, so that we are able to create issues like that. That was what we had as additional ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that, Hendrik. I know in the past we've talked about on the TAC, not this TAC term, but in past TAC terms, creating kind of these getting started videos, right? Which would be something that would be good for potentially somebody who's into making videos, right?
Yeah.
Or somebody who's new to the project that wants to learn it, and so they're going to create the video. They're going to do the steps anyway, so why not create a video around it? These are all good ways to get people more deeply involved with the project, regardless of whether they're, coders or not coders.
Yeah. Agree.
Great. Any other thoughts or ideas about good ways to bring in new people to a project? David?
I will say that we started earlier this year to create some custom shirts for projects. So, I mean, that's one thing that we could potentially work with you on if you're doing something like this, not necessarily only for Hacktoberfest, but some sort of maybe challenge or whatever, whenever. It doesn't have to be during Hacktoberfest, but feel free if that's something you might be interested in, and if you think that might be a nice incentive for somebody who shows up and helps with an issue or two, reach out to us and we can talk to Ben about maybe creating a custom shirt. We've done it for Hyro, for example, and a couple other projects, but happy to explore doing that for other projects too. And that could be a nice, gift to give somebody who helps with a bug or two.
Thanks, David. Diane?
So at the Hedera Foundation, we are exploring a paid open source module to help facilitate people who are semi-independent to work on Hyro and other projects related to Hyro. I know in the Cardano ecosystem, Christian Taylor's written a really nice white paper on the paid open source model. And I think there's a trend towards that. And I know that's something that I'd like to bring forward once we've fleshed it out a little bit further for the Hyro community. But I think there's some t-shirts are wonderful, but funding is also a good thing, whether it's from a foundation like the Hedera Foundation or sponsoring organizations that want the work done. So I think that's another way to incentivize people to participate.
Somehow I don't find the, hand symbol here, so I'm just saying something. I hope that's okay. I totally agree on what Diane said, and that is a wish that I have where I'm still trying to work on. If people who solve a good first issue, as an example, have GitHub sponsors activated, to give them a little bit back. I now had discussions with some other open source projects. So in concrete, I had a discussion with the people who do at Apache, the Tomcat server, and there a company gives a given amount each month that can be spent on newcomers who work on issues on that project as an a goodie kind of thing based on their contribution, and that don't need to be much, right? So if somebody solves an issue and without thinking about getting something, he gets like $5 or $10 as a hey, thanks for helping us getting that project to the next level. That person will definitely think twice about, hey, I want to come back to that project because they are awesome.
Great. So I think what's being done here in Hyro is really good. Curious what people on the TAC think about potentially stealing some of the work that's being done there to provide guidelines for our other projects.
So Tracy, not finding the hands up thing again.
That's fine.
I don't know where it went. So in the contributor guides, under the maintainers section, I'm going to probably reference some of that
Okay.
materials, and that's definitely one as an example, along with others. And so when we get to that section of today's meeting, I'll mention that again.
Okay.
So coming back to your question, Tracy. So what I would really like is to have for something like LFDT a front end about, hey, those are all the issues, the good first issues on all the LFDT projects. Because especially when it comes to non-code and things like that, having 10 or 15 non-code issues is so much better than just having one. If you randomly have one, people won't look at you. But if you can be able to say like, oh yeah, we always have some even non-code issues, people might come and check, okay, what possible issues are here open. And that is what I would really like, and we could even then integrate it into the LFDT webpage and things like that. I don't think we can do it this year, but maybe that should be a great goal for next year, to have for next Hacktoberfest something more global at LFDT.
Yeah, I like it. It reminds me of some work that was previously done. I'm not sure if it's still maintained, but there used to be like a Arun Rai, you can help me out here. Remember the Getting Started
Yeah, the
website that
Start
we
Here
had?
site.
Yeah. Do we
Mhm.
still have that?
I think it's not maintained. Arun might know
Yeah.
more. I think it's not working, but I like the idea, like an aggregator, like a good first issue aggregator potentially. Is that what we're talking about, basically?
Yeah, it exists, but I think as part of the reorg when we moved, I turned off the thing to make it automatically run because it didn't have permissions, this, that, and the other. So if the TAC wants to adopt that, perhaps we could move that into a newer home and make sure that everything actually works correctly.
That would be awesome. And I think there is a little section in the contributor guide for getting started too, and that would be a great home for some of that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on this topic before we get to updates on the task forces?
Mm, just two more thoughts on the same lines, right? So can we
Mhm.
have maybe like 1 or 2 paragraphs on, hey, it does not take much from you. Once you contribute, then our CI pipelines would be there for verification. Don't worry about missing something or breaking something. We are here to help you, kind of a sentence. This would, I don't know if a lot of new contributors who want to get involved, they may feel comfort in that sentences. And yeah, that I mean, it's around that line, right? Would-
Is that a suggestion specifically for the Hyro document that they've created, or was that around the Start Here stuff or the contributor guide stuff?
This is around the for good first issue page that was created from Hyro.
Okay.
And in terms of stealing what Hyro has done and making it a guideline for other projects, I know we have had this in the past as well, asking project teams to try and come up with list of issues that they can designate as good first issues. I would like to welcome suggestions on how can we enforce such things, or how do we encourage project teams to build such backlog items. I think that's where project team may need to spend some time on.
Well, I do wonder, Arun, about that if we do move towards this aggregated sort of view, if that encourages projects to want their good first issues that maybe they haven't created yet, right, to show up in that list. Maybe that's a mechanism that we can use as a carrot rather than a stick to enforce it.
I agree.
All right. Anything else then? Okay. Then these will be really quick updates on the task forces, seeing as we only have about 8 minutes left. I don't remember who I put first, but we'll start with Matthew on the project consistency task force. Any updates for the TAC on the work that's being done?
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. We had a good meeting 2 weeks ago, which was, I think, quite productive. So I think that was probably our 4th meeting. We have another one tomorrow. I think we are mainly focusing on what the areas of consistency that aren't covered elsewhere are. I think also one thing we'll discuss tomorrow is maybe trying to firm up some timelines, some deadlines for ourselves, so that we don't just spend a lot of time talking. So I think maybe I'd like one outcome of tomorrow to be some timeline aims for what output we'll have and when, particularly an estimate for when we'll bring it to the TAC as a proposal.
Great.
Cool. I think that's everything.
All right. Thank you, Matthew. Diane, updates on the contributor ladder task force?
Sure. So there is a meeting today at 8:30. my time, so in a half an hour after this call ends. And we probably need to change the time on the meeting because a number of people have mentioned that they have overlapping meetings and can't attend. So I will put a call out in the Discord for suggestions again on a new time. I'm hoping for a Friday because my Friday morning's kind of open. But if you look in the chat, there is a link to the contributor site. And most of the site has at least navigation to stub pages. And most of the contributor, end user, homepage, and now the mentorship page has legitimate content on it for you to review. And I've just added in the navigation and the main pages for the maintainer content flow. So that's what we'll be reviewing today. And we have been making pretty good progress on this, but as you know, there's a lot more that we can do. So I'm trying to marshal that through it. But your feedback would be highly sought on that. And the other piece is that I think that once we get the maintainer stuff in there, I'd like to run it by the maintainers to see what else is missing and what they think they need. So that would be a next flow to before bringing it to public consumption.
All right, great. So obviously, if people have any suggestions, PRs are desired for the contributor site. You know, we can obviously take issues as well, but if you do have something that you just see and would like to add, a PR would work great, I think, for that.
Yeah. Yeah, the more PRs, the better.
All right. Thanks for the quick updates on the task forces. Obviously, work continues and is progressing in both of those, which is good to hear. And so we'll obviously wait till the two task force leaders are ready to bring that to the TAC for final review. But if anybody would like to get involved in those meetings are available and publicly listed on the calendar. So please do join if you're available. And yeah, I guess the final question I have for folks is there anything else anybody would like to bring up today?
Could we get the hackathon mentioned in the announcements? I'm not sure whether whether you've put it into that channel.
I will put it in the Dev Weekly this week, Diane.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else anybody would like to bring up? All right. If not, then for next week, we do have the Trust over IP annual review that we'll be taking a look at and discussing. And then, yeah, I guess with that, we'll let everybody go for the day and we'll see you all again next week. Thanks all for joining. And Hendrik, thank you for presenting what you guys have been doing. I think really good information and really good to share that with the other folks on the call. So with that, we'll go ahead and close out today's meeting.